Hello guys, welcome back to my boxing and gaming YouTube channel. So it's been about 2 years since I recorded something. I don't know why I stopped really, just work got in the way and stuff, but now I'm back. I'm going to start doing some gameplay in the future, but mainly I'm going to carry on talking about boxing for the time being. So this boxing review in the title, as it says, is the Callum Smith versus Canelo Alvarez world title fight from last night. So earlier today, or earlier this morning, Callum Smith put his WBA and Ring Magazine super middleweight title on the line against Canelo Alvarez in America. So also the vacant WBC title was on the line as well. So going into the fight, I think, because obviously with the coronavirus as well, there was no fans present for the fight. Like going into it, I don't know many people had much interest from the people I spoke to in that. A lot of my friends aren't really like hardcore boxing fans. It's more like just myself. So really I was just watching it by myself really to see like, who was going to win. So I thought personally Canelo Alvarez was going to win. Canelo was a good fighter, but looking through his like CV, if you want to call it that, I was thinking, does he have like the ability to overcome Canelo Alvarez? Because you've got different sort of tiers of fighters obviously nowadays, and Canelo Alvarez is definitely obviously the best fighter in the world and stuff. His record speaks for itself. Multiple weight world champion as well, and even though back in I think it was 2018, he beat Rocky Fielding for the WBA super middleweight title, a lot of people didn't see that as like a true victory really, because 2018 he thought they didn't see it as a true victory because Rocky Fielding was a good fighter, but I wouldn't class him as a like genuine world champion. So obviously going into this fight, people were seeing it as like Canelo Alvarez's first sort of wild title attempt to capture some titles at this weight class. Obviously, Callum Smith has had some good fights against like John Ryder and George Groves when he won the title back in 2018. And he's a good fighter, he's tall, rangy, but I was thinking, does he really have what it takes to beat Canelo Alvarez? You need to have multiple game plans as well. You need to come in with a solid game plan, and I didn't know if Callum Smith really had it or not in him to beat Alvarez. So when I watched the fight and that, I was thinking, like, is Callum Smith going to do? Is he going to use his jab? Is he going to use his weight, his height, reach? Is he going to use his advantages to his advantage? And I don't think he really did that. Alvarez essentially just was right in front of him the whole time, and landing brutal shots as the fight went on, did damage to Smith's nose. Callum Smith, to his credit, was there the whole time. He's tough. You can clearly see at the end, obviously, in that, like, his face was obviously just marked up. Not badly, but like you can see there was some visual damage there. Alvarez looked like he just come from like a sparring session, and the shots he landed in the fight, like the thudding of Alvarez's shots on Smith was like, it's like when you're thinking about like the shots in boxing, like it's very, maybe because there's no crowd, but the shots that when Smith was hitting Alvarez, I couldn't really hear him. Whereas Alvarez's shots, especially going through the fight, were really loud, and it just shows the power of Alvarez. He got close a few times to really hurting Smith. I don't think he was going to knock him out. I don't know if he was even looking for the knockout, but obviously easy won by decision. So now really, if you're going through potential opponents for Alvarez next year, you've got Billy Joe Saunders, who's the WBO champion. You've got Caleb Plant, who's the IBF champion. You never know, he could fight both and be an undisputed super middleweight champion. I think the last person to do that was Joe Calzaghe back in 2008. Yeah, I think that's correct. I could be wrong there. I mean, Alvarez, obviously, again, it just shows how good he is. He's CV, like I said earlier, speaks for himself. He fought like Miguel Cotto, Floyd Mayweather, Callum Smith. He's beaten some really good opponents, and people can always question people's CVs, of course. Like, people might say, oh, Cotto was way past his prime. That's probably correct and stuff. Obviously, he's had 2 fights with Gennady Golovkin. They're very controversial decisions and draws. Personally, I think that Golovkin won the first fight. The second fight was really close. I personally think Alvarez won the second fight just by a small margin. It's just in my opinion. It's not like I'm trying to say that, oh yeah, Alvarez is won and that's it. Like, it's always up for debate in that, because it was very close. So he's beaten people like Daniel Jacobs, and he's a solid middleweight as well. So it shows how high quality Alvarez is. Because nowadays, like from what I've seen since I started watching boxing, like a fighter will be a few good people, fight at the top of the range, will lose, and will sort of fade into sort of obscurity. Like for example, Ricky Hatton, for example, another popular English fighter, beat some good people, fought for Mayweather, fought a few other fighters, lost to Pacquiao, and his sort of career ended after that, basically. In terms of Callum Smith, where does he go from here? Obviously, I don't think does he deserve a rematch? Probably not. I don't think he does. I mean, he did well in the fight. He had good, sort of really small spurts in the fight. I just don't think he did enough to really warrant a rematch. I could be wrong, but I just don't see it. I mean, you never know. He could fight Billy Joe Saunders. I don't know if he has a WO ranking. I know sometimes the fighter who's a champion can pick someone, and obviously Callum Smith is a former world champion, so it does qualify for a world title fight. That's a good fight in itself. Let's just say that Alvarez is fighting Caleb Plant, or going up against some other fighter, maybe Golovkin 3 for example, and Billy Joe Saunders hasn't got a scheduled fight next year. Like who would he fight? You never know. He just come off beating Martin Murray, so Callum Smith could be a good fight for the both of them. They're both exciting fighters. Billy Joe Saunders needs to be fighting regularly, so you never know. Callum Smith could be the perfect opponent for him. The fight itself was good. I bought it on DAZN as well, just become available for the UK, which is good. The stream was high quality as well. Obviously the fans would have made it 10 times better. It just shows how good Alvarez is. When I started watching Alvarez back in 2011, he was at light middleweight and he fought Matthew Hatton and Ryan Rhodes, I think, in 2011. And I thought, like, wow, like this guy is like the real deal, beating people like Austin Trout as well in 2013 for the unified light middleweight title. And he obviously, you think people would over the years would go up obviously in weight classes, but the fact that he's gone from, I think, welterweight all the way to light heavyweight just shows like how versatile and how good Canelo Alvarez is. Yeah, obviously the drugs. The drugs from a few years ago do come into question. Some people say, how can he just go up how can he go back and forth between weight classes? I think the counter argument for that would be that from middleweight to light heavyweight there's 15 pounds, and I just think that because Canelo Alvarez is a naturally heavy guy, he can jump between the two, because middleweight's 160, super middleweight 168, light heavyweight 175. Like, for someone like Alvarez, whose walking weight could be seen 180 for example, I just think he could go up and down the weight classes. Obviously it's frustrating for, say, fighters in those weight classes who are seen as the best, and then Alvarez just comes in there and just destroys them. Like his last say 3-4 years in the sport, like beating people like obviously Amir Khan, Golovkin, obviously Daniel Jacobs, Kovalev at light heavyweight. Did anyone ever think he was going to beat Sergey Kovalev? I didn't think he would be. I thought he was too heavy. I just thought Kovalev was naturally the stronger and heavier guy, and he knocked him out clean, so it just shows how good he is. So let me know your comments down below what you think about the fight, and I'll speak to you guys soon.